Tough for Tua versus that Rams defense, and it was right from the start yesterday. First drive, Tua takes a big hit and fumbles, but the Dolphins, led by their defense, bounce back and win 28-17. Tua passing for less than 100 yards in his first start afterwards. He talked about it.
That was a good hit. It's football. Try to step up, make a throw. Aaron Donald, swiped at the ball behind me, and I don't know who the guy was that took me off my feet and pretty much body slammed me. But hey, that's football. And not gonna lie, I did enjoy getting hit that first time. That was definitely a welcome.
Likeable guy. Max, were you impressed with Tua's starting debut?
Very impressed with his starting debut, and I actually believe him when he said he liked that first hit. You want to get your feet wet? You want to see what it's like in the league and all that? Like, you wouldn't make it in professional football. Well, Tua Tagovailoa looks like he will. I was very impressed with the start. Why? Let's forget about can you be accurate and all this kind of stuff. We expect Tua to be an accurate quarterback. After a long time since playing in a football game, coming off of surgery, in your first NFL action against, you could argue, the greatest defensive player of all time, because he's in the argument. I like Lawrence Taylor, Deion Sanders, J.J. Watt. Aaron Donald is in the conversation. Reggie White, Bruce Smith. Aaron Donald will be remembered alongside those guys, and he's in his prime. And Stephan A, you and others were like, why would you start this kid coming off a surgery when you have, can he stay healthy kind of issues? Undersized quarterback against Aaron freaking Donald. And on the first play of the game, Donald comes up the middle. Tua gets body slammed and strip sack. How does he respond? He throws a strike to Devontae Parker with no separation. You saw it all over SportsCenter today, right? The littlest separation in the NFL since forever. A bullet strike pass. Now, he winds up with 1 touchdown, no interceptions, under 100 yards. I get that because, look, he hadn't played in a long time. He overthrew some receivers early on. I get it. And then it wasn't the kind of offense where he really needed to show off afterward. But could he game manage? Could he ride a good defense to a win against a good team? Guys, more than any X's and O's stuff, why start him against Aaron Donald? Because you want to see how he responds. And it couldn't have worked out any better. First play, he gets done like that. Comes back to throw a touchdown pass and win the game. I've seen what I needed to see in that respect, and I believe that's why they started him against the Rams. Yes, I was very impressed.
Well, clearly you didn't watch the game, or you watched the game and you just ignored what the hell was happening. What the hell was happening with the Los Angeles Rams? Max Kellerman, that might have been one of the most awful games Jared Goff ever played. He looked like straight garbage. He was that bad, okay? And remember, give props. When I come in giving props to Brian Flores, this, again, was the defensive coordinator, if I remember correctly, and coaching linebackers for the New England Patriots in 2018 when the Rams were held to 3 points in the Super Bowl by the New England Patriots, because Brian Flores, that's what he was doing. He was dropping defensive linemen back in the coverage. He was blitzing from the outside, from your back seven. He was they completely confused Jared Goff, and he looked as lost as I have ever seen him. 4 turnovers in the first half. He looked like a deer in headlights. He almost looked as bad as Ben DiNucci at times. I mean, it was that bad for Jared Goff, okay? And it made no sense that Sean McVay continued to have this man dropping back to pass in the first half. I think it was 24 or 25 times, when you consider the fact that they was averaging damn near 6 yards a carry rushing the football against Miami's defense. So I look at it and I say, my God, you got a 28-10 lead in the first half, and you got a grand total of 56 yards total in offense. Miami Dolphins didn't have to do anything offensively. They scored on defense. They scored on their special teams. Obviously, Tua threw a touchdown pass and deserves some credit for that. He fumbled when Donald and Brockers just collapsed on him in his first pass attempt. But other than that, okay, he didn't make any other turnovers. In the end, what it comes down to is he hasn't shown us much. And I'll tell you this, fair or unfair, Max, we're going to judge him according to what we see from Justin Herbert too, because there was so much noise and coming into the draft. There was I'm just saying, but Joe Burrow's number 1 overall, and we understand that. Even though if Tua had never gotten hurt, he might have been that guy. But we look at Joe Burrow, he's number 1 overall. But Justin Herbert, was there for the Miami Dolphins to take, if I remember correctly. And guess what? They wanted to win. So I'm looking at it from the standpoint that when we see Justin Herbert fling this football the way that he's flung, and that's a different subject for another day, Ryan, because I got to tell you, I'm getting scared for Anthony Lynn. You can't have a quarterback looking the way that he's looking, and you have leads, and you keep losing those leads, and you're going to keep your job as that head coach. I'm getting very worried for Anthony Lynn. But I will tell you this. Tua is going to be judged because he's going to be compared to Herbert. Make no mistake about it. He didn't look that impressive to me. It's his first game. I'm not overreacting by any stretch of the imagination. I personally would have preferred to see Ryan Fitzpatrick still in there because of the way that he's been playing and the way Brian Flores has that defense playing. But the truth of the matter is, Tua did not look impressive at all. There was nothing good to take away from Tua in that performance. Nothing to excoriate him for, but there was nothing to brag about either. I'm sorry.
I agree with that. You can't right now say Tua can't do it, though. You can't make that statement that Tua Tagovailoa isn't better than Justin Herbert. But I can tell you 100%, I wasn't impressed at all. Not even a little bit. And, the throw you're talking about, Max, it was a zero coverage. He fitted in there right in front of David Long. There was no Jalen Ramsey to play yesterday. But he missed a quick wide receiver screen, was inaccurate. There was a deep ball to Gesicki. That was a good throw. Darius Williams pulls it out. But Tua Tagovailoa didn't do anything yesterday like we saw in the first opportunities of seeing Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. Like, I still remember that first week against the Chargers, watching Joe Burrow drive his team down to what we thought was the winning touchdown, but it's called off with an OPI on A.J. Green. Or I remember Justin Herbert getting thrust into starting because of an unfortunate incident with Tyrod Taylor and him going toe-to-toe, face-to-face with Patrick Mahomes, the reigning Super Bowl MVP, and who many, and myself included, feels the best quarterback playing football. We didn't get to see that, and maybe it's because they didn't need it. Right, you have to give Brian Flores credit. Brian Flores took a team that we all believe was tanking to get the quarterback that they are starting now and lost the first 7 games. He replaced Josh Rosen. He went with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they found ways to win games up until beating New England on their own turf. So I'm going to trust that he's doing the right thing, that he's seen enough from Tua Tagovailoa to know that they can win. Because when I look at this team, if the quarterback plays well, this team could win the AFC East. When you look at what Josh Boyer's doing on defense, the defensive coordinator. And when you look at what Brian Flores is doing as he's delegating and diagnosing and drawing up plans to shut down Jared Goff, you say, okay, this defense has it. One of the top defenses in the NFL. They can win a playoff game today. And then you hear the story that they're playing Tua Tagovailoa, and this is a report, because they have the Houston Texans first-round pick, and that pick could be extremely high. So they need to know what Tua Tagovailoa is going into next draft. That I don't like. I have been asking to see him all season. Give him a small group of plays and packages like we see with Jalen Hurts. Let's move him along and see what happens in game time. But to just replace Ryan Fitzpatrick at this point with really no rhyme or reason, Fitzpatrick playing well, and now we're going to make this? So we do need to see something from Tua Tagovailoa. We need to see some of that Justin Herbert, some of that Joe Burrow, because they have a chance to win the AFC East this year. We're not worried about the future today.
Here's the problem with that. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs with Fitzpatrick if you leave him in. And Fitzpatrick is just good enough to be dangerous to a franchise like Miami. That's why it took guts and foresight for them to say, yeah, you might be the better quarterback at the moment, but we still got to bench you. Like, it's the danger is that Fitzpatrick plays well enough to get you there because you ain't winning the Super Bowl with him. And guys, we know that. And again, you guys are judging him X's and O's. Even look at Herbert, who's been outstanding. He's showing you why 2 years ago people were saying, hey, should teams tank for Herbert, right? And Joe Burrow, who's also been eye-opening. Like, boy, these guys can play, right? Tua hasn't played in a long time. Tua's coming off of hip surgery. It's a completely different situation. Yes, Stephan A., you're absolutely right. He will be compared to those guys, both Burrow and especially Herbert, maybe because he could have been had a little bit later on. But this is his first NFL action and first football action in forever. Well, you've got to give him 3 or 4 games to get it.
I agree with that, Max.
Hold on, Ryan.
But how are you impressed, though?
Hold on.
Because the number one thing that I wanted to see, and I think it's the reason they started him against the Rams, was how would he respond to it? When you get done like that on your first
time you saw him, Max?
What's that?
The first time we saw Tua Tagovailoa, he replaces Jalen Hurts. He throws an interception in the second half of the Georgia-Alabama National Championship. A freshman who hadn't played, who hadn't started, walks to the sideline, puts his arm around the greatest coach in college football history, and is like, "It's all right, coach. I got you." No. We knew he had that stuff. Right now, it's about that physical stuff. It's about, are you healed? Can you move? Do you have that NFL stuff from a physicality standpoint? Go ahead, Stephen. I'm sorry, bro.
And we didn't ask, Max, we didn't ask for you to resemble Dear Abby and wrap your proverbial arms around Tua and say, it's going to be okay. You'll be fine in 2 or 3 weeks. We're only talking about yesterday. And yesterday, Max, let me throw this at you, okay? Let me just throw this at you. You got the Rams, they had 31 first downs. Miami, 8. The Rams had 131 yards rushing. Miami, 55. The Rams had 471 yards total. The Dolphins had 145. 340 net passing yards. The Rams had 90. You can make a legitimate argument that yesterday, all right, no big deal. Next week, the week after that, it'll be fine. But yesterday's game, the offense for the Miami Dolphins literally did nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. Well, no, he threw the touchdown pass that I referred to, and he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't throw an interception, by the way. But when you say, "Oh, dear Abby," in a full contact sport, Stephen A., and you know this, covering football now as long as you have in this show, and obviously you're a big boxing fan, you've been around the game. In a full contact, violent sport, stuff like you are facing Aaron Donald. You're a rookie. You're coming off surgery. You get body slammed and strip sacked the first time you touch the ball. How do you respond? Like, I understand in college, that's one thing. But how do you respond as a pro is very important. And I thought that's why they were going to start him against the Rams. I didn't expect him to put up big numbers. I thought they wanted to see how he would respond. His team won. His team won the game.
And all I'm saying is 2-3 weeks from now, come to me with that. But yesterday, no. He survived. He lived.
He won.
He walked off the field. He's going to be there next week. Congratulations.
He didn't do too much.
Well, let's not act like he did that. Come on now.
According to Stephen A., he survived. He didn't thrive. Next week, he gets Kyler Murray. And then the following week, who you mentioned, Stephen A., he gets the Chargers and Justin Herbert. So that'll be a great litmus test for the rookie. All right, guys, we're going to keep it moving here. We are debating NFL superstar tandems, better duo, Russ